at exactly 7:42 a.m. The signal from bus number 19 vanished from the GPS feed. No crash alert, no distress call, just gone. 23 students, one driver, and a route they never should have taken. The last traffic cam showed the yellow bus turning down a gravel road that didn't appear on any county map. A minute later, the camera glitched, and when the feed came back, the road was empty. Not a skid mark, not a tire track, just mist and silence. It began like any other school morning. Frost still clung to the bus windows. Pale sun filtering through the trees. Birdsong just starting to pick up along the edge of Dry Creek Road. Bus number 19 pulled away from its first stop at 6:57 a.m. Darlene Watts was behind the wheel, as always. 12 years. Same district, same calm expression. She knew every child's name, every curve in the road, every pothole to swerve, and every parent trusted her. The route ran like clockwork. Elm Street, Quarry Road. Then the stop just past the old water tower. That's where she picked up the new kid. He stood alone, thin, maybe 12, wearing a faded red hoodie and black jeans. No backpack, just a slip of paper in one hand, a transfer form. Darlene rolled down the window and leaned out. First day, she asked. He didn't speak, just nodded once. Slow, held out the slip. She took it, squinted. Name Elias H., grade 7. Signature line blank. Before she could ask anything else, he stepped up onto the bus and walked straight to the back. Sat alone. Didn't look at anyone. The other kids barely noticed him. At 7:18, she pulled away from East Hollow, the last pickup. 23 students total. Nothing unusual, until the GPS pinged off route. She should have turned left at Millstone, toward Creek Bend. That was the usual path. But instead, bus 919 veered right onto Dry Creek Trail, a gravel road, rarely used, not maintained. In fact, it hadn't officially existed on county maps since the 1950s, but the tire marks showed clearly in the dust. The camera at the last intersection caught it, and the bus making the slow turn, heading into the trees. The footage glitched for just a moment, and when the frame returned, the road was empty. No bus, no lights, no motion. Just swirling fog, rolling in fast. Dispatch called her radio at 7:42. No response. They tried again. Still nothing. But at 7:44, a transmission came through, crackled, distorted. A child's voice, male. We're going the long way today. Then static, then silence. The bus didn't arrive at school. They called it a mechanical failure at first. Maybe the radio was down. Maybe the driver rerouted around a fallen tree. Maybe there was a delay. But by 8:10, the school began contacting parents. None had heard from their children, and no one had seen the bus return from Dry Creek. By 8:40, law enforcement was involved. A search was launched immediately. The last known location, the turn onto Dry Creek Trail. By 9:15, officers reached the spot. No bus, no debris, no tire marks beyond the turn. The gravel was untouched, smooth, like nothing had passed at all, and yet a faint smell of exhaust hung in the air. They brought dogs. The dogs refused to enter the trail, sat on their haunches, whined. One of them turned and ran. Handler couldn't get him back. They brought drones. The drones lifted, hovered, then lost signal. Twice. The cameras went black when pointed toward the trail's center. Compass needles spun. Radios cut in and out. They tried walking the trail by foot. It looped back every time, always ending at the same moss-covered stone halfway in, never farther. Darlene's file was clean. No prior incidents, no medical conditions, no distress on the morning of. The dash cam was gone with the bus, but the traffic footage showed every child's face, calm, normal, except for the boy in the back. He never blinked, just stared forward. By noon, the school released the manifest, 23 names. They matched enrollment records, except one, Elias Ha. There was no such student, no registration, no transfer request, no birth certificate on file, no home address. The slip he gave Darlene, typed, but the ink smeared, and the paper, dated 1976. They ran facial recognition on the camera image of the boy. One match, Elias Hargrove, missing since October 18, 1976. Last seen boarding bus number 47 on Dry Creek Trail. The parallels chilled the room. That bus number 47 was never found. 24 students, one driver, gone, no survivors. The official story was landslide, unconfirmed, no evidence. Now, 48 years later, it was happening again. Local folklore resurfaced, stories of the ghost route, children whispering about the bus that bends time, a road that only appears on certain mornings, where fog moves faster than wind, where you hear the horn before you see the lights, and where the back seat is always empty until it isn't. Parents gathered at the school gym that night. Grief, panic, rage, but no answers. Only rumors. Only the photo of a boy who hadn't aged since 1976, and a route no one dared to follow. They tried satellite imaging. Nothing. Just trees, no road, no breaks in the canopy. Just forest, thick, dense, and quiet, like it had swallowed something whole. The next day, someone came forward. A farmer, lived 3 miles west of the trail's end. Said he saw something that morning, a yellow bus driving across his field. But there was no road there, no tracks left behind. He blinked, and it was gone. That evening, an old radio crackled in the station. Unplugged, broken, it buzzed. Then a voice, almost there, followed by static. Then the sound of children laughing, then silence. The search was called off after 3 days. No leads, no sightings, no footprints, no answers. The official report listed the incident as vehicle missing during transit. Suspected mechanical deviation. Active investigation ongoing. But no one believed that. Not really. And those who live near Dry Creek, they never drive past it. Not in the morning, not at night. And if they see fog rolling in before sunrise, they say a name under their breath, Elias, and turn around. No questions, no hesitation. Because some roads don't lead anywhere. They take you, and some passengers don't want to be found. They want to go home. They called him the boy in the back seat. No one remembered him getting on the bus before. He wasn't in any morning roll call, wasn't on the roster, didn't speak to anyone. But every child on bus number 19 said the same thing. He was already there when they got on. Caitlin Sutter, 11 years old, usually sat 2 rows from the back, told her parents later in the only words she could speak. He was humming, but not like a song. More like something broken remembering how to sing. She hasn't said anything since. Every interview the authorities conducted with parents, neighbors, or school staff circled back to the same point. The boy in red, the last face on the camera, the last seat on the bus, and the only one who never turned to look when the fog rolled in. Investigators pored over the 1976 case file. Bus number 47. Elias Hargrove, age 12, had boarded the bus wearing a red jacket. Same face, same posture, same silence. The bus disappeared October 18th, 1976. Same day of the week, same route, same morning fog. There had been whispers back then too, but no technology to track it. No GPS, no dash cams. Only a driver's logbook with the last entry. Took Dry Creek to avoid construction. Kids quiet today. The new case sparked renewed curiosity in Elias's background. But his family gone, moved out of state after his disappearance. Mother passed in 1992, father in 2008. No siblings, no DNA on file, just one photograph from his last school portrait, placed side by side with the footage from bus 19. Identical, not similar, identical. No aging, no change, not possible. And yet, there he was. The sheriff brought in psychics. Locals laughed until one refused to enter the precinct, said the photo gave her vertigo, said the boy had no future. When asked what that meant, she said, he never leaves the seat. Because he is the seat. She left town the next day. Stranger still. Audio experts analyzed the child's voice, on the intercepted radio message. "We're going the long way today." The voice's pitch matched an old analog recording on file, an interview from 1977. A grieving mother, desperate for answers, played back. The voice of Elias Hargrove matched perfectly with the boy on the tape. But the 1977 tape was of a child speaking to his mother from a bedroom recorder, 2 years after he disappeared. It was dismissed as grief-fueled delusion. Now, it was impossible to ignore. 4 days after the disappearance, a group of volunteers entered the woods, against warnings, 5 of them, all locals, all with children on the bus. They walked Dry Creek Trail at dawn. They carried flashlights, radios, trail markers. Only one returned, shivering, eyes wide. Couldn't speak for a full hour. When he finally did, all he said was, they were there. All of them. Sitting perfectly still. But their eyes weren't right. He never went back. Local legend keepers, people who catalog old Appalachian folklore, shared similar stories of roads that bend wrong, of children who hum like roots growing backward, of a boy who forgets he's dead. So he comes back to ride. The tales were all disconnected. Different counties, different decades. But the name appeared more than once. Elias. The town put up a memorial near the trailhead. Candles, teddy bears, photos of the kids. A banner that read, "Bring them home." On the 7th night, someone placed a note at the center, not handwritten, typed. Same paper stock as the transfer slip. It read, "He was always going the long way. You just noticed too late." That same night, security footage from the school captured movement near the bus yard. A figure, thin, childlike, moved between the parked buses, paused by bus number 19's assigned space. The lights flickered on, then off. The cameras glitched. When the image returned, the figure was gone. And the number plate on the fence had changed, from 19 to 47. Local radio frequencies began picking up static around 7:40 each day. On one station, 104.6 FM, an unknown signal started pushing through, children laughing, singing off key. Then a sharp squeal like tires screeching. And then, next stop, Dry Creek. No one could trace the signal. The FCC investigated, said it was a prank, but people who heard it described the same thing. Cold hands, unnatural silence after it played, a smell like diesel and rain-soaked leaves. One elderly man collapsed while listening. When he regained consciousness, he said, he rode that route with me. Long ago. He's still looking for his stop. Back at the station, officers went through the old 1976 case box again. They found a report never followed up. A ranger's note, dated October 19, 1976. Found boot prints in the mud at Dry Creek, led in circles, always back to the same spot. One small red hoodie caught on a branch, wet but not worn. No body, just the sound of a bus door closing over and over. 1 week passed, 7 days, and still no sign of bus number 19. No sign of the students, no driver, no wreckage, no clues, except for the voice, that voice on the radio. Every morning, a few seconds before 7:42 a.m., always the same words. We're going the long way today. It was the 8th day after the disappearance. People had begun to grieve in fragments. Some still hoped. Some stopped speaking. Others started forgetting. But the woods hadn't. The woods remembered. The boy was found at sunrise, shoeless, shivering, standing in the middle of a harvested cornfield, 4 miles from where Dry Creek Trail had been closed since the 1950s. He was covered in thin streaks of dried mud, wearing a school uniform, River Hollow Middle School colors, same as the other children. His name was Benji Locke, 10 years old. His parents had already buried him once in their hearts. A farmer spotted him from the tractor and called it in. Paramedics arrived first. Benji didn't run, didn't cry, didn't blink much either. He just stood there, holding a single piece of paper, folded tight, edges curled with age. softened like it had passed through too many hands. When they asked him what happened, he whispered he wanted to go home. They brought him to County General. His vitals were normal. No signs of injury, but his body temperature was low. Unnaturally low. As if he'd been standing in cold air for hours despite the spring weather. The doctors asked him questions. He didn't answer most, but he kept holding onto the paper. When they finally pried it from his fingers, it was a map drawn in pencil on old parchment, torn from a surveyor's notebook, stamped with a faded seal in the lower right corner. County Planning Office, 1957. The map showed Dry Creek Trail in detail, but not just the road. It included landmarks long gone, a collapsed mill, a church that burned down in 1961, and a small handwritten label, Stop 13, Elias Bend. That name had never appeared on official records, but on the reverse side of the map, written in a child's handwriting, don't follow the singing. Benji didn't say anything else until nightfall. That's when his mother sat beside his bed and played a lullaby he used to love. He flinched, turned his head toward the door, and whispered, "He doesn't like music." She asked who. He looked up at the ceiling and replied, "The boy in the back. He hears everything, even when you don't speak." Meanwhile, authorities brought in a historian to verify the map. She confirmed the paper's age, the surveyor's markings, even the ink, authentic, but the handwriting, too modern. Pencil graphite showed it was written recently within the last month. Impossible, unless someone had gone back or something had returned. A team was dispatched to locate the landmarks on the map. They found the mill's stone foundation under dense brush. They found the charred wood beams where the church once stood, and between them, a flattened clearing. 12 perfect circles burned into the grass, each circle just wide enough for one child to stand in. At the center, an old rusted school bell, still intact, but welded shut. The sound inside, long dead. The circles weren't visible from satellite imagery. Weren't there the day before, and by the next morning, gone. The field was clean again, but one of the officers brought back something else, a stone, smooth, carved, with the initials E.H. He placed it on his desk that night. By morning, the desk was cracked, the stone was gone, and a note was found taped to the officer's locker. The route bends for those who remember. Benji spoke again 2 days later. He asked for a mirror. They gave him one. He stared at it, quiet, unmoving, for over an hour, then said, "He's learning how to smile, but he's not very good at it." No one knew who he was anymore. Not just Elias Hargrove. Something else, something older, something using the boy's face, like a mask passed down through time, from one road to the next, from one missing bus to another. The town held a meeting that week. Closed door, no press. Some wanted to block off the woods entirely. Others wanted to bless the land. A few just wanted to forget. But a retired driver stood up in the middle of the silence. His name was Marvin Clay. He'd driven bus 29 for 20 years. And in a tired, cracked voice, he said, "I saw him once in the mirror. 1985. Thought it was just exhaustion, but now I know. He was waiting, watching. He rides the routes we forget, the ones that bend, the ones that don't end." No one spoke after that. They just left, quiet, one by one. Benji was released to his parents on day 12. He smiled for the first time since he returned, but his mother noticed something strange. He didn't blink often, didn't laugh at the same shows, didn't sleep under the covers like he used to. And when he closed his eyes at night, he mumbled something, "Stop 13, stop 13," like a prayer or a warning, or both. They moved 2 towns over, changed his school, changed their names. But every time the school bus came near, Benji shook, refused to ride, and when asked why, he said, "Because I can still hear the door opening, and it's not done with me yet." It started with the radios, old ones, the kind no one used anymore. Dusty, battery-powered units tucked away in garages and barns. outdated shortwave models still hanging in volunteer fire stations. They all came alive at the same time. Subas 42 SM. Exactly. The sound wasn't music. Not at first. Just static. A long, drawn-out hiss like wind caught in a tunnel too narrow to breathe. Then the sound shifted. Children laughing. Not loud, not playful, soft, almost polite. Like they were told not to laugh too hard. Then came the voice. A child's voice. Clear, calm, familiar. We're taking the long way again. People tried to record it, but the tapes came out blank. Phones picked up nothing. Even live-streamed feeds would crash as soon as the static began. But those who heard it, they remembered. Not just the sound, not just the words. They remembered names. Mrs. Cartwright, a retired teacher from River Hollow, hadn't taught in over 20 years. But when the signal came through her old tabletop radio, she heard her own voice answering it. From a lesson she taught in 1998, then a pause, then a student's voice. A boy named Julian Torres. He died in a bus accident in 2001, but on the radio, he whispered, "Do you still have my spelling test?" Others came forward. A gas station attendant heard her sister's voice gone since 1984. A park ranger heard the name of his unborn child. One never carried to term. One man who never had children claimed he heard himself as a boy, asking for a hall pass, asking to leave. It all happened at the same time. Every morning, 7:42, then silence. Some said it was grief manifesting through coincidence, that rural minds fill silence with ghosts. But the reports continued. Different states, different frequencies, but always the same message, always the same timestamp, and always the same signature. Parents of the missing began hearing new things, not just voices, but knocks, soft, on bedroom doors, on car windows, always between 2 Vardravards and 3 Baravaras and always followed by a whisper from nowhere. Almost there. Benji's mother heard her son's voice on the baby monitor again, but Benji was asleep in her lap. Still, the monitor crackled, and a version of her son, calm, mechanical, said, "The ride is longer this time. He doesn't like shortcuts anymore." She turned the monitor off. It turned back on 3 times. She smashed it the next morning. Some things began to bleed over, not just sound, but sight. Sheriff Bowman was driving home when he saw a yellow bus through the tree line. No road, no children, just the top of bus number 19. Still, silent. He slammed the brakes, turned into the brush. When he reached the spot, nothing. No bus, no tracks, no broken limbs. But the air smelled like diesel. And something else, old paper, wet canvas, rust. He didn't speak to the media, but he did tell his deputy one thing. "I think the road doesn't take them. I think they agree to go." Then came the drawings. Children across 4 counties started sketching the same thing. Unprompted. Circles, 13 fence posts, a curved road, and always a bus driving into the fog. Sometimes they drew figures in the windows. Sometimes just one. The boy in the back seat. Red hoodie, no face. Sometimes smiling, sometimes not. One girl in a nearby town painted her entire bedroom wall with charcoal, a road stretching into mist. In the middle, she wrote one sentence in block letters. He never got off. She stopped speaking for 3 days. On the 4th, she whispered to her mom at breakfast, "I think I was supposed to be on it too." Investigators tried reaching out to signal analysts, paranormal researchers, even cryptographers. No one could make sense of it. The signals couldn't be traced. The timestamps were universal. No 2 messages were identical, but one word repeated across dozens of reports. Ben. Somewhere, somehow, a road had bent. Not just in space, in time, in memory. And wherever that road led, it didn't come back empty. A week later, a second child returned, miles away. In Kentucky, same description, barefoot, quiet, no memory. But this time, his shoes were found beside a gravel road, placed neatly, side by side. Inside one of them, a paper slip, stop 13. When the boy finally spoke, he said, I remember the singing. It was backwards. When asked what that meant, he added, "It sounded like the wind was trying to breathe in." He couldn't name the driver, said he never saw her face, but he remembered the boy in the back. Everyone does. He was humming again. He said, but this time, he turned around. The therapist asked what happened after that. The boy closed his eyes, said nothing, and began to hum, a slow, broken rhythm, low, hollow, unsettling. The room went cold, and the audio recorder, brand new, stopped working. That was the last official session recorded. The clinic burned down 2 nights later. Gas leak, unexplained ignition. The boy and his family relocated. No follow-up allowed. Now, every year on March 4th, the school district cancels morning routes. They say it's a maintenance day, but people know better. That's the day bus door 19 vanished. That's the day the road bent. That's the day he rode again. And if you drive too early near Dry Creek, and you see headlights where there shouldn't be any, and if you hear the laughter before you see the fog, don't stop, don't speak. And whatever you do, don't follow the singing. Not everyone was afraid of Dry Creek. Some were drawn to it, especially those who had lost someone, especially those who still hoped. Daniel Mercer was one of them, 37, a mechanic. Brother to Emily Mercer, age 13, missing from bus number 19. She was his little shadow. He raised her after their parents passed, and he refused to accept what the town said, that she was gone, that she'd been taken by the fog, that she was one of them now. He believed she was still alive, somewhere, stuck, trapped, waiting for someone to pull her back. So he planned the route, every turn, every timestamp, every detail recorded in the case file. He studied the map Benji had returned with, even traced out the lines on his garage floor. 13 stops, 1 bend. Stop 13 Elias Bend, the only one that wasn't real. On April 18th, exactly 45 days after the disappearance, Daniel drove the route. He left at the same time the bus had, same weather, same road, even took the same make and model vehicle as bus number 19, a retired district bus, bought at auction. He restored it himself, named it Emily. He passed the landmarks in perfect order, every turn, every stop, until the fork where Millstone meets Dry Creek, where the road disappears from modern maps, where the air smells like wet iron and cedar. He turned right onto Dry Creek Trail. He kept a GoPro mounted to the dashboard. It recorded 12 minutes of footage, fog creeping in, tree branches closing overhead, static on the radio. At minute 12, the footage distorted, a sound high-pitched, like metal grinding underwater. Then, nothing, just mist on the lens, and the faint sound of humming. Daniel never returned that night, but his bus did. It was found parked outside his house at 3:17 a.m. No keys in the ignition, engine cold, but the cabin lights were still on, and inside, the bus was empty. All seats accounted for, except one. Seat number 13. The cushion was torn. The number had been etched deeply into the metal frame, like it had been clawed in, and resting neatly on the seat, a single red ribbon. Daniel was found hours later in his garage, alive, but barely responsive, eyes wide, skin pale, mouth whispering something no one could understand. On his forearm, a new scar, fresh, angled, curved, forming a shape that looked almost like a root. 13 bends, a loop, like a map carved into him, or a seat number burned in. The doctors sedated him. He stayed under for 2 days. On the 3rd day, he opened his eyes and said one thing. She got off. They asked who. He didn't answer. He reached for a pen and with trembling hands wrote, "Not Emily." They tried hypnosis. He flinched the moment they played ambient music, especially songs with humming. The therapist tried asking if he remembered the ride. He said nothing, but when she left the room for a moment, the audio recorder picked up 5 words. "The bus remembers my name." Daniel didn't return to his house. He checked himself into a private clinic upstate, requested no visitors, said the lights there were cleaner, but even there, something followed. Nurses reported seeing wet footprints near his bed each morning, not shoe prints, bare feet, small, child-sized, trailing from the corner of the room to the side of his bed, and then stopping. He began drawing again, over and over. Same shape, a seat, a window, a road curving into fog, and always a face. In the window, never his, never Emily's. The boy in red, sometimes smiling, sometimes mouth open, like mid-song, sometimes faceless. The seat drawing appeared on the clinic wall, scratched into the plaster with a spoon above it. Daniel had written, "He doesn't ride the bus. The bus rides him." One night, an orderly walked into Daniel's room at 2:11 a.m., found the man sitting upright, awake, staring at the corner, smiling. The lights flickered, and from the hall radio usually off came a whisper. Next stop, Mercer. Daniel was moved to secure care after that. The clinic staff burned the drawings, repainted the walls, but the numbers kept coming back. 13, 14, Firate, in dust, on mirrors, even inside their elevator inspection logs. Meanwhile, the bus was towed. The district didn't want it. No buyer would take it. Eventually, it was placed in the county impound lot, under tarp and lock. But when inspectors came to photograph it for records, seat number 13 was missing. Gone. The bolts were still there, still stained, but the entire seat had been lifted out. No signs of breakage, no scrap, no drag marks, just gone. And in its place, the ribbon was back, tied in a bow, still red, still damp. A mechanic assigned to the lot quit the next day, said he heard humming from under the tarp, low, repetitive, almost like an idling engine, but with a tune. He wrote one note before leaving: "If you sit in the wrong seat long enough, the road takes your shape." Daniel still hasn't spoken since the move, but once a week, he receives a blank envelope. No stamp, no return address. Inside each one a bus ticket, date March 4, time 7:42 a.m., Route 13, always the same, always sealed in red wax. Emily Mercer has never been found. No trace, no belongings, no sound. But her school photo, it appeared on her mother's kitchen table 2 weeks ago, slightly aged. Her face, older. Same smile, same red ribbon in her hair. On the back of the photo, she stayed off, but he followed her home. It arrived without warning, a worn manila envelope. No stamp, no return address. Just the school's name typed neatly on the front. River Hollow Middle, 1976. The secretary at the front desk thought it was an alumni donation. She set it aside. But Miss Carla Jennings, 8th grade history teacher for nearly 19 years, picked it up on her way out, thinking it might be useful for a project on local heritage. She didn't open it until after dinner that night. Inside was a yearbook, soft cover, cracked binding, musty smell. The title was barely legible, The Long Road Home, Class of 76, a strange title for a middle school yearbook. She flipped through it quickly at first. Faces of students she didn't know, names she'd only heard whispered in memorials. Page after page, black and white portraits, class photos, clubs, sports. A few jokes written in the margins. Lansing still owes us a pizza party in faded blue ink. And then, the photo that stopped her. A group photo, school bus safety club. 12 students, 1 driver. And seated in the middle row wearing a red hoodie was a boy whose name was printed beneath the image. Elias Hargrove, co-captain. Carla's breath caught. She'd seen that name. She'd heard that name. She stared at the photo. Elias's eyes seemed wrong. Too clear, too knowing. Like he was looking straight through the camera. Through her. She flipped the page and stopped again. A different photo? Same angle. Same caption. But Elias was gone. In his place, an empty seat. No mention of him. Like he'd never been there. She flipped back. He was there again. Still staring. Still smiling. She tried to explain it away. Maybe 2 copies of the yearbook got merged. Maybe a printing error. She shook her head, laughed nervously, and closed the book. But when she got up to put it away, she heard something, a rustle, like paper shifting. From the table behind her, she turned back. The yearbook was open. to a different page. It was her class of 2009, but she wasn't teaching back then. She shouldn't have been in it. And yet there she was, standing at the edge, only she didn't remember the photo, didn't remember those students. And at the far right corner, seated in the back, a familiar figure, red hoodie, head down, hands folded, no caption, no name, just a seat number. Thirst. She snapped the book shut, put it in a box, tucked it in the hall closet. Didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, it was on her desk at school. No one had the key to her office. No one admitted placing it there. And when she opened it, it was flipped to the page again. The boy, the seat, only this time he was looking up. Right at her. She showed it to the principal. He dismissed it. Printing error. Old prank book. Nothing to worry about. But he asked to keep it for district review. Carla went home feeling uneasy, but slightly relieved, until she checked her desk drawer the next morning. There it was, again, same yearbook, same worn cover. She opened it. This time, it was different. The pages were blank, all but one. A photo of the school hallway, today's hallway, and in the reflection of the trophy case, a red blur walking past. Caption: "Don't look behind you during roll call." That afternoon, the janitor found a photograph taped inside locker number 213. It showed Carla, seated at her desk, smiling. Behind her, just out of focus, was the window, and in the window's reflection, a boy in a red hoodie, pressing his hand to the glass. The janitor didn't stay after dark anymore. Carla brought the yearbook to a historian in town, Mr. Alfred Lunn, who ran the River Hollow archive. He handled it with gloves, flipped through it, said nothing, until he reached a center spread with no ink, just embossing. He rubbed a pencil lightly over it, and the words appeared. "You can add a page, but you can't remove one." He looked at her, face pale, and whispered, "This book, it isn't recording the past, it's predicting the next passengers." Carla left without saying goodbye. That night, she placed the book in her car, locked the doors, left it in the trunk. She checked it every hour. Still there, still shut. But just before dawn, she found it on her kitchen counter, open, and on the last page, a new photo. Her, in a bus seat, looking straight ahead, with a caption, "Final stop, Jennings." She burned the book that morning, used lighter fluid, watched it catch fast, watched it crumble to ash. But the next week, a package came in the mail, no return address. Inside, a replacement, pristine, untouched. Same title, same soft cover, and taped to the inside flap a list of names. 13 of them, 12 crossed out, 1 left. C. Jennings. She stopped teaching 2 days later. Left town, no notice, no goodbye, no trace. The school received one final email. No subject line, just a single line of text. You can't teach them to unsee it. Now the yearbook sits in the school library, labeled as an archive curiosity. No one checks it out. But sometimes, students say it's open to the page they never remember turning to. And there's always a seat, empty at first, until it isn't. They weren't supposed to find it. Not the students, not the curious, not the living. But the yearbook never cared who found it, only that someone always did. It was Luca Jameson who first noticed. Sophomore, honor student, loved history, hated math. Ran the school's digital archive club. One afternoon, while scanning old materials for digitization, he noticed something strange. There were 2 copies of the 1976 yearbook, identical covers, identical wear, same school, same title, but different contents. One was normal, pictures, signatures, bad 70s haircuts. The other, it changed. He brought it to his 2 best friends, Anna LeClaire and Jalen Marsh. They didn't believe him at first, until they saw it, page after page, flickering slightly when they blinked. Faces morphing, names rearranging, and then something new. A spread titled 13 Who Took the Ride. 12 photos, 1 empty frame, labeled, "You know who you are." Jalen joked nervously, "Guess they're waiting for us to upload a selfie." No one laughed. They checked the school archives. No record of that layout ever existing. No mention of the ride. No class project by that name. But Luca scanned the QR code in the corner of the page. Yes. A modern QR code in a 1976 book. It resolved to a black page. No images. Just a timer. Counting down 7 days. Every morning, the empty photo frame grew darker, sharper, more reflective. And by day 4, they realized it was no longer blank. It was turning into a mirror, not a photo, not a frame, a window. On day 5, Anna saw herself in it, but not how she looked now. She was older, maybe late 20s, sitting on a bus, alone, looking scared. The red hoodie was folded neatly in her lap. On day 6, Luca opened the book alone. The mirror page was gone, replaced by something new, a photograph of the 3 of them, taken from above, inside the school library. Same spot they were standing in the day before. Caption archivists. They never learn. He closed it, ran, never touched the book again. Jalen didn't stop though. He took it home, tried to film it, tried to post it. Everything corrupted, every video black screen, every file blank, except for one frame that survived, a still image. The interior of an old bus, seat 13 glowing faintly, and in the back, a boy in red, grinning. Caption, smile for the final passenger. That night, Jalen didn't show up to school. His phone rang once. Luca answered. Silence. Then I'm on the long way now. Click. The next morning, Anna found the yearbook on her doorstep, wrapped in a paper bag. No note, just written in marker across the top. It knows the last one now. She brought it to the old burned foundation of Dry Creek Chapel, sat in the ashes, opened it one last time. Page 13, a new spread. All 13 seats filled. Every photo clear, Jalen's picture now complete. Smiling, but eyes blank. And her own, still forming, half-rendered, like it was waiting for her to sit still, to face the camera, to accept the ride. Anna closed the book, lit a match, set it on fire, watched it burn to ash. This time, she didn't wait to see if it would come back. She left the county the same day, never answered another call from Luca. But weeks later, Luca received a letter, no stamp, just placed in his locker. Inside, a Polaroid, a bus window, fogged over, and written on the glass from the inside, she got off. But you're next. That's when Luca left town, changed his name, moved to a city where no one knew the stories. But sometimes, early in the morning, at 7:42 a.m. exactly, he hears the sound. Laughter, soft, distant, and a faint whisper behind him. We still need the last one. And somewhere, across dusty towns and fogged-out roads, there is still a bus, with 13 seats, 12 filled, and one waiting. They say some roads, remember, that asphalt may crack, trees may fall, time may rot the signs, but some routes never fade. 7 years after Bus 19 vanished, the sightings began again. Same stretch of forest, same fog, same hour. Locals swore they saw headlights in the mist, but there was no road anymore. The area had been blocked off, barricaded, forgotten. Still, every 7th year, at 7:42 a.m. on March 4th, the bus came, and each time, someone disappeared. This time, it was Cassidy Hall. 22, college dropout. Worked late shifts at a roadside diner. She didn't believe in the stories. Didn't care about Elias Hargrove. Didn't remember the kids in red hoodies. Didn't even know where Dry Creek was. But her little brother Finn, he did. He knew every word. Watched every grainy YouTube theory. Read every archived blog. He was obsessed. Cassidy thought it was just a phase, until the drawing started. 13 fence posts. A curving road. A bus that floated off the ground. And always, a window drawn in black crayon, with him staring out. She threw the drawings away. They came back. Finn started sleep-talking, then sleepwalking. Once, Cassidy found him barefoot at the front door, eyes open, hand on the doorknob, whispering, "Seat 13's open now." She took him to doctors, psychologists, pastors. Nothing helped. And on the morning of March 4th, exactly 7 years to the day Finn was gone, police found no sign of forced entry, but muddy footprints led to the road behind the house. 13 steps. Then, nothing. Just grass and tire tracks that faded into fog. Cassidy didn't wait. She followed the trail herself, drove for hours, wound up on old roads the GPS didn't recognize. And then she saw it. Through the trees, the bus, parked, engine off, lights on, and inside, 12 figures, still motionless. And at the open door, one empty seat, she approached, hands shaking, heart pounding. She climbed the steps, called Finn's name. No one turned. But on seat number 13, a note, folded. On the outside for her. Inside, you don't have to ride. But if you listen, he'll let you see. She sat, didn't speak, didn't breathe. The door closed behind her. The bus didn't move, but the trees did. The world blurred, and the window beside her shimmered, like heat or memory. And then she saw him, Finn, on the other side, standing in a cornfield, smiling, older but safe, holding a photo of her. He waved, then turned, and walked toward 13 posts lined in a perfect arc. She tried to open the door, tried to scream, but no sound came, only the low hum of the engine, and behind her a whisper, "Now you remember." When she woke up, she was in her car, parked outside her home. Sunlight, birds chirping, no sign of fog, just a note on her dashboard. Every 7th year, a door opens. Some come home, some choose to stay. Finn never returned, but Cassidy never forgot. She started writing, telling the stories, every version, every thread, every child who'd ridden. Every time the road bent, she became a quiet archivist of the unexplained. And each March 4, she lit a candle. At 7:42 a.m. and waited. Sometimes, she hears a knock, 3 soft taps, and the sound of laughing children. Sometimes it fades, sometimes it doesn't. But once, on the 21st year, she opened the door and found a shoebox. Inside, Finn's red hoodie, folded, clean, and underneath it, a photo of the two of them, sitting on a bus, smiling, together. But Cassidy doesn't remember taking that photo. Now she tells the story to others, warns them not to follow, not to listen. But some do. They always do. Because the bus still comes, the posts still move, and seat 13 is still waiting. The story of the vanished bus is more than just a tale of fear and fog. It's a reflection of how trauma, memory, and silence can echo across generations. Sometimes, what haunts us isn't a ghost, but the emptiness of unanswered questions, the pain of being unheard, or the guilt of not knowing what to do. In the face of loss or the unknown, stories like these remind us to listen more closely to the quiet, the forgotten, and those asking for help in ways we don't always understand. Thank you for joining us on this haunting journey into the bus that reappears every 7th year. If the story moved you, chilled you, or made you reflect on something deeper, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We post new immersive stories every week. Please leave a comment below to share your thoughts, your theories, or even just one line that stuck with you. Your feedback helps us keep creating content that resonates. Until next time, keep your lights on and listen for the whisper.